Very good evening to everybody watching. Thank you for joining us tonight on the evening review. My name is Toiwan Jabela. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Flip Bass. He is a chairperson of the Solidarity Movement in South Africa. It's a movement that fights for and advocates for the well-being of particularly the Afrikaans community there. Mr. Bass is in the country for something that we'll explain in a moment before we venture into what his organization does and advocates for. Thank you very much, Flip, for coming to the platform. It's really a pleasure. We only see you from a distance.
Yeah, no, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, wonderful. Maybe if you can tell us first why you are in Namibia.
Yeah, well, of course, to visit some friends and also some tourist attractions. You have a beautiful country.
Yeah.
I've been at Sossusvlei, for example, and a few, several other places. But also there was a meeting I was asked to address of a youth organization, Afrikaans Cultural Youth Organization, and Afrikaans was officially recognized 100 years ago. So it is the birthday celebration of Afrikaans is 100 years. And so to address the people on the future of Afrikaans.
Yeah, wonderful.
But mainly for tourism and to visit friends also.
Okay, lovely. So let's talk about your movement, Solidarity Movement. What movement is it for a Namibian audience that doesn't know much about it?
So what happened in South Africa is that the state is not functioning very well on many fronts. You have a crime problem, you have a corruption problem, problems with education, access to technical education, etc. So what we have done is, in our history as Afrikaners during British colonial rule, we established what we call then a help mekaar beweging, a help each other movement. So it is a community organization. We have got more than 600,000 members, and not exclusively Afrikaans, but mostly Afrikaans. And so we have a Christian Democratic Trade Union, pro-free market trade union. We have a civil rights organization called AfriForum. We have a welfare organization called the Helping Hand. We have a university called Academia. It's many people from Namibia also study there. And we have also a technical college, Soltech, and we've got the largest Afrikaans newspaper, publication, electronic newspaper, Marula Media. So we have got quite a lot of organizations that form together what we call a help mekaar movement.
Okay. Is that born out of because I admire, I must be honest, that even in Namibia, that togetherness, that sense of community within particularly the Afrikaner community here. But is that just to preserve yourselves, or are the external threats that sort of make you sort of, unite against any of those forces?
Well, I think it is both. The one is about conservation, your language, your culture, good relations to preserve the country, the economy, the infrastructure, preserve law and order and peace and so on. So, but also there's also serious problems. For example, in South Africa's legal system, many people who are connected to the elite who was findings against them during the so-called Zondo Commission. It was the Chief Justice of South Africa that formal inquiry in what they called state capture, inquiry that cost millions and millions of rands and took about 3 years, but nobody was prosecuted. Everyone knows who is implicated in the Zondo report. So we have a private prosecuting unit who then try to prosecute that kind of cases, because many of them have plundered pension funds of people and so on. So it is both.
Yeah. One of the things that brought the Solidarity Movement to the fore, especially on a global stage, is your recent interactions with the American authorities, where you've alerted them to some of the things that are happening in South Africa, especially demanding, of course, the respect for private property, among others. And also to advocate against what you call the race-based laws.
Yeah.
Do you, as a community and as an organization, do you understand the background that is being put across as the reason for the need for such kind of laws? Do you agree with the justification?
Yeah, what we said that we accept the effects, some of the effects of the past policies are still with us and that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
But, you know, Article 1 of our constitution is that South Africa is a non-racial democracy, but there is 142 race laws, you know, operating in South Africa. And if you look at the numbers, you know, 7% of people, you can make laws against them, but it is not possible for 7% to uplift the other 93%.
Yeah.
So what happened is that South Africa has become the biggest exporter of skills and high net taxpayers. And we say after more than 30 years, we have to look at the results, at the outcomes. So the intentions is one thing, was one thing about more than 3 decades ago, but we must look at the outcomes. And the outcomes show that that policy hasn't worked. There was Professor William Kumere of Wits said the only effect was that there was about 100 people who benefited from the distribution of more than R1 trillion. So it has empowered a small minority of well-connected people, but it has got no effect on the big picture in South Africa. We have got, according to some statistics, the highest unemployment in the world. We have got, you know, our economy now for years more haven't grown. You know, about since, there was real economic growth during the time of Mr. Thabo Mbeki. That was about 15 years ago. So we have got a large, you know, other problems. And if you look at the outcomes, the policy do not work. So there's a need for development of everyone in South Africa, especially black people. We accept that, and we're willing to help with that. But the policy as it stands now doesn't work.
Yeah. In what way do you think, what are the practical ways, Flip, to attain some sort of equity? I know that equity is not a word that is enjoyed lately within the conservative circles, but it's a necessary principle.
Yeah.
So, if land, you would agree that during apartheid there was a time when black people in South Africa were not allowed to buy any land. White people were allowed to do that, and that led to the current situation where you have this skewed ownership of land, and land remains a key means of production or mean of production. In what way do you think? What other way is there to redress that without besides what is being proposed?
Yeah, the land reform program of government is one of the many failed government programs in South Africa. And the high-level commission under the leadership of previous President Kgamelo Motlanthe of the ANC, they found in 2018 already that the biggest problem was the incapacity of the state to help with that programs. There was large corruption. Most of the farms that was redistributed, you know, wasn't productive, you know, anymore. So what our view is, we must rather ask the agricultural organizations to work with government, because they have got proposals on the table, workable proposals. So people are not against. I mean, it is important that black people get more productive land, but the government policies again doesn't work. So it was admitted by senior ANC officials repeatedly that it is not a success. But I believe that the National Development Plan of South Africa makes provision that organized agriculture must get involved with that, and we support that.
Yeah. In Namibia, which, by the way, we were under the same administration, the South African administration, apartheid administration, was also governing here at the same time. Of course, they left in 1990 when we got our independence. and the effects are the same. Here in Namibia, the approach has been, the BEE policy in Namibia is reminiscent of what is happening in South Africa,
Yeah.
where it has not really empowered communities. If it's concessions in mining or in the fishing industry, where you give black-owned entities fishing quotas as part of the idea to empower black communities, this money has often ended up in the pockets of individuals only. And the communities from these individuals, where they come from, there isn't really any evidence of a communal sort of based solution to that problem. Our farming, our land policy is that of willing seller, willing buyer approach, where there has to be someone willing to sell in order for the state to buy land. And as a matter of fact, another policy is that anybody who's selling a farmland in Namibia must first offer it to government at the commercial market price. Only if the state says, look, you can proceed with other customers, then you can proceed to the private land. But which I think is a noble approach, but very, very tedious, very slow. Do you think that South Africa has something similar to say that if anyone is selling their farm, maybe it goes to the government first, or what is the approach there to acquire land that is not in that is in private hands?
You see, the problem in South Africa and in many other countries is that when the state get involved in the economy, when there's too many laws, when the state is so powerful, then you got economic problems. You know, the economy is not functioning well. It is like throwing sand in an engine. Yeah. So we believe that market forces can be an efficient distributor of land also. So if you want to lift people out of poverty, you need economic growth. You know, there is not one single example in the history of the world where poverty wasn't solved by economic growth. Poverty is not solved by redistribution. So, of course, there's every country have a safety net for people, unfortunate people, you know, deserving poor people who can't get work and so on. But we need to get the economy growing. And the economy is not grown by the state, by the private sector. And the state, when it become too involved in the economy, it doesn't work. And we have seen that in South Africa. I mean, with the highest unemployment rate in the world, you can't do the same thing over again and hoping to get totally different results. So again, I think organized agriculture have got a lot of proposals, but the government at this stage, you know, they I don't know, they really look at outdated policies that doesn't work. They cling to that, and as long as they do that, then it will not improve. You know, it is also about the capacity of the state. There's a lot of corruption already with the land redistribution. So the bottom line is it doesn't work, and we need new policies. You can't have the same policy, like I've said, and get much better results than you got for the past 30 years. So yeah, I think the government need to involve the private sector and organize agriculture much more, and they have to get proposals from them.
Yeah. The last question before we go for a very short break, Flip. The Afrikaners traditionally are farming people, but sometimes you get these pockets of narratives that somehow only Afrikaners can actually productively produce or work the land productively. Do you believe in that notion?
No, of course not. There's many successful commercial farmers in South Africa, and but if you look at what happened in Zimbabwe, there was a successful black commercial farmers before the land redistribution program. But because the land redistribution program in Zimbabwe destroyed the whole farming industry, the black commercial farmers was also deeply affected, and mostly they also lost their productive farms. So we need, and there's a lot of successful commercial black farmers in South Africa, and we need to build on that.
Absolutely. We go for a very short break and return with a flip bass. The conversation continues with a flip bass of the solidarity movement in South Africa. Now, in that ecosystem of organizations that you mentioned, AfriForum, the Solidarity Movement, and all associated organizations, there was this thing maybe a month or two ago about, okay, it's not a new thing, it's been going on for a long time, but I think it came to a head now when when some of your guys visited Donald Trump in South Africa, in the USA, and the buzzword was this genocide against Afrikaners. Is there genocide in South Africa of Afrikaners?
No, we have never used the word genocide. There is a problem with violent crime in South Africa that affects everybody, and there is also a problem with farm murders in South Africa that is proportionally much higher than the rest of the population. For us, the reason why we have also visited the White House was because we were concerned about the tariffs. We were concerned about AGOA, the African Growth and Opportunities Act. We are very much in favor of AGOA, and we are against sanctions against South Africa or higher tariffs, like what happened last week. The American government imposed 30% tariffs on South Africa. That will affect the farming community, the motor industry, chemical industry, and a lot of other industries. So the embassy in Washington, the South African embassy, was, according to the Americans, basically dysfunctional for about 5 years. And we thought it was our duty to go and to present a case for South Africa. And our message to the Americans: if you are angry at the government, don't punish the whole country with tariffs or with sanctions or so on. Look at the individuals who was responsible and engage with them diplomatically through diplomatic channels. But the embassy there, the Americans, after our visit, they fired the ambassador there because of his remarks about Hamas and Israel and America and Mr. Trump and so on. So, South Africa needs to strengthen its diplomatic ties, to the United States. We have warned the government that there's not a communication problem. They was under the impression that there is only a communication problem between the South African and the American governments, and we gave them evidence that there is a real policy problem, and with regard to property rights, but also foreign policy. And we said to them they need to engage with the American government, and urgently engage with the American government, because the American president gave South Africa 90 days, 3 months, to come up with proposals. And that proposals wasn't forthcoming. And so that is a very big problem. South Africa haven't got an ambassador in the United States at this moment, and America haven't got an ambassador in South Africa at this moment. So there's a very big communication problem, but the core of the conflict between the two governments is policy. And we have seen that during the visit of Mr. Ramaphosa to Mr. Trump. We have seen that Mr. Trump have a clear idea. Whether you agree with that is not important. What's important is that there are very much different views, and the government, South African government, did not address that. And that is the core of the problem. So from our side, of course, we have also mentioned the race laws in South Africa. We have also mentioned the danger of expropriation without compensation. But our main message was, please do not punish the people of South Africa with tariffs. You will have the effect on normal working people, on farm workers, on farmers, and so on and so on. And government officials, they will happen nothing with them. So I hope now that American government have imposed that unbelievable high tariffs,
Yeah.
that the South African government now will really take action and try to engage with the Americans and put proposals on the table and work things out.
The tariffs, people in South Africa believe, a lot of people in South Africa believe that the tariffs are a result of the kind of messages that emerge from organizations like yours to say that you are passing on information that is not correct or that is correct but lacks context. For example, these land-related laws are meant to attain a particular equity within the South African public, but if you do not present that picture properly, Donald Trump and everybody else there will think that these laws are only made by lawless people who just want to punish you for being Afrikaners, and therefore, as a result of that, they say we are going to retaliate by forcing the South Africa's hand with these tariffs. They are saying that tariffs are a result of your communication to the Americans.
Right. That is not correct. The tariffs are a result of policy differences between the two governments, mainly due to South Africa's lack of real diplomatic efforts. So at this moment, we have a court case against the minister in the presidency because he said that we've presented misinformation. Already about 6 large publications in South Africa had to publish apologies because they've also said that we have presented misinformation. And the origin of that was a Secretary General of the ANC that have said that we have spread misinformation, but they couldn't come up with one single fact, one single piece of evidence that we have presented misinformation. The American government is a very powerful government. They have a very large intelligence organizations. If we presented them with misinformation, our credibility will be destroyed. So we have tried to build a long-term credibility with the Americans on the Republican and the Democratic side. And we have a large network in the United States of contacts. And we have always presented them with factual reports, the impact of AGOA, the impact of tariffs and so on. And we have also sent that reports to the South African government. Because the complaint of the Americans was that they do not receive factual reports from the South African government. So we have said, we have at the open invitation, give us evidence of one single piece of misinformation we have presented to the Americans. So we believe that we have presented them with facts. We believe that we have presented the case for South Africa. So I think we have our actions was in fact really very patriotic in trying not to have tariffs against South Africa.
Yeah. The last question to you, Flip, is these members of your community who have emigrated to the USA, saying they are refugees. Some are saying it's people who have wanted to look for opportunities like everybody else in South Africa. You have black people in South Africa, the coloureds, who also leave the country because they think maybe the UK presents a better prospects for their lives. But this group, which is also seemingly just looking for a better life elsewhere, is seen as refugees. I mean, what is your classification of those that are living for the USA under that program?
What we have said to the American government is that that refugee status will only benefit a very small number of people who have relatives murdered on a farm, for example, and so on. And if people want to go to a country that they think is safer, then we have no problem with that. But we don't think a refugee status is a solution. We believe that the solution must be found in South Africa. So we have said to the Americans that we appreciate their concern about South Africa, their concern about Afrikaners and the race laws and expropriation and the farm murders and so on. But we have asked them rather to help us to solve that problems in South Africa itself. The solution is not for it is for people to go to the US. We don't think that is the solution for the entire Afrikaner nation.
Yeah. Just on that point, and this is the last question now. When you speak about race laws, so South Africa has always had race laws. Some pre-1994, others the current ones post-1994. What were your views on those that existed prior to independence?
Oh, of course, race laws are incompatible with human rights, are incompatible with a working economy, and so we always accept that there will be in South Africa after '94 that there would be some kind of redress, projects and so on. But like I said, after 3 decades, you must look at the fact that unemployment is much higher now, percentage-wise, than it was in '94. The inequality have worsened in South Africa over the past 3 decades. The capacity of the state have weakened in really every aspect. The crime problem, the corruption, and so on. So the policy proposals of the government have affect every terrain of the South African life. And we need new ideas, we need new policies, and we need to address the facts of what is happening in South Africa.
Absolutely. Flip, thank you for coming to the platform. We really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Wonderful. That is Flip Base. He is chairperson of the Solidarity Movement in South Africa, telling us about the work that they are doing there, their philosophy, and what they think could work better for South Africa. Thank you for watching.